When the Devin Haney Ryan Garcia fight first got announced, I thought it would be a huge box office draw. But here we are 2 weeks before the fight, and I'm not so sure it's going to be as big as everybody thought it was going to be financially. So I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why I think this fight is going to flop right now. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hangout Spot where you already know it's Real Talk Sports Talk, live from my man cave. It's your boy Johnny, and let's talk boxing for a minute because I wasn't gonna make a video today, but there's a couple things I need to get off my chest because there's been a lot of chirping the last 24 hours about this Devin Haney Ryan Garcia fight, and honestly, it's been on my mind because usually 2 weeks before a fight, I'm usually pumped up, I'm excited. I'm chomping at the bit. Like, I'm ready to cook with no ingredients, man. Like, you know, I'm not even exaggerating. And it's funny because I just don't feel that way 2 weeks going into this fight. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm not looking forward to the fight. Like, I want to see the fight. Like, I want it to get here. I want to see it. But that excitement level is kind of missing, man. And I was like, well, why is that happening? And more importantly, if I'm feeling that way, are there other people feeling that way? And I think, honestly, like true boxing heads are probably feeling the same way I am. And because of that, like I said in the intro, I don't know if this fight is going to be as big as everybody thought it was going to be, especially as big as what Golden Boy and Ryan Garcia thought it was going to be. I thought when this was announced, it was going to be a box office hit. Now I think it's going to be a flop. And that's just my opinion. And like I said, everything I say going forward, that's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, there's just so many things that went wrong with this whole promotion. I mean, from all the antics with Ryan Garcia and you know, on social media and the crappy undercard. I mean, so many things that went wrong. I just think this promotion just went bad, man. Like Oscar and Golden Boy, they did not do this one up to par. They dropped the ball on this one. And again, I could be wrong. And they go out there and they make, over 1 million, 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. And, the Barclays Center finally sells out because I don't believe they even sold that out yet, which is crazy when you got, fighters, big name Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, one of the best fighters pound for pound. I mean, you would think that kind of fight would sell out, in a day, 2 days, a week. There's still tickets available for this fight. In fact, if you go on Ticketmaster, you can get nosebleeds for cheaper today than what you would have got them during the pre-sale. I kid you not. Like I said, there's just too many things that I think went wrong. There's 5 things that I thought about off the top of my head that I think went wrong with this whole promotion. Starting with number 1, which kind of ties into number 2, which is the price that they're charging for this fight. I mean, pay-per-view, $80. That's for a non-customer, but if you're a DAZN customer, you probably get it for like $70, $75. I'm not sure. I'm not a DAZN customer. I used to be. I was a DAZN customer when they was charging $9, $10 a month in the beginning. I was rocking with them from the beginning. When they started raising prices to like $30, $25, $30, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll find another way to watch these fights. But man, it's like $80, which ties into number 2, for a crappy ass card. Like, are you serious? Like, Golden Boy, you couldn't do better than what you're giving us here? Like, yo, nah. I mean, listen. The crazy part about this whole thing is most of these guys that you knew were going to be on the undercard didn't get opponents until like the last 48 hours probably. In fact, I think Arnold Barboza, who's fighting in the co-main event, I don't think his opponent was announced until this morning probably. Because I checked online yesterday, I didn't see an opponent for him. Now today I see he's fighting Sean McComb. That's right. That's the same. The look that you see right now is the same look I had when I read that. Sean McComb? Like, who's this dude? I'm a true boxing head, and I don't even know who the hell this dude is, Sean McComb. Real talk. I'm not even going to lie. I'm not even ashamed to say it. I mean, Arnold Barboza is a nice fighter, 29-0, 11 knockouts. In fact, you know, they didn't have an opponent for him during the first two press conferences because you kind of thought that they were kind of waiting to see what was going to go on with Ryan Garcia. And if he ended up putting out, then he was going to be, you know, he was going to slide in as Devin Haney's opponent. And you know what? He'd be a reputable opponent because he's a top contender. He's vying for a title shot, and he's undefeated. 29-0, 11 knockouts. He can box. Not the biggest puncher, but he can box. But the crazy part about Arnold Barboza is that the true boxing fans know who he is. The casuals probably don't. Either way, if you're going to put him on a co-main event that's not a title fight, then at least put him in there with somebody that people know. Sean McComb? This is going to be a 10-round fight, 140 pounds. Sean McComb is 18-1 with 5 KOs. He's a dude that I'm going to have to look on YouTube and study before the fight, so at least I know what to expect. You got to do better. Like, Oscar, you got to do better than this. If you're charging $80 for non-subscribers and $70 for people that have been loyal subscribers to DAZN, you got to do better than this. But it doesn't stop there. Bektamir Melikuziev, a good, hard action fighter, a power puncher, 13-1, 10 knockouts. Better known for his 2 fights with Gabe Rosado. One of them, he got stopped. Gabe Rosado shocked everybody by stopping him. But then the rematch, he avenged that convincingly, beat down Gabe Rosado. He's fighting against a dude from France, Pierre de Bombe. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. 32 years old, 22-0. 1 draw, 12 knockouts. This is a 10-round super middleweight fight. But again, at the end of the day, who is this guy? You got to remember, even if these fights turn out to be good fights, which I hope I'm wrong, you are trying to get customers based on what you put on paper. So what you put on paper has to draw your customers to want to buy. This right here does not make me want to buy and spend my hard-earned money. I'm sorry. That's just the way it rocks. Anyhow, Scrappy Ramirez, again, John Scrappy Ramirez, entertaining fighter, you know, very flamboyant, you know, exciting, box office. He's got some speed. 13-0, 9 knockouts. If you've never seen him, you know, he's good for boxing because he's flamboyant. He's like you know, a small version of Hector Macho Camacho. Like, he's nowhere near that skill level. I'm not saying that. But, you know, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that flashiness. And I think guys like that are good for boxing. I actually like him. I think he has a lot of skills. I mean, he's looked so-so in a couple of fights, but in a lot of other fights, he's looked really, really good. Anyway, he's fighting against a good, tough fighter, David Jimenez, and they're fighting for a WBA interim flyweight title. And you know the small guys in the lower weight divisions, they do it up. So this will probably be the best fight of the night because it's the most evenly matched. Like, you know, it's going to be a good fight. You know, I don't see Scrappy washing this guy, but you never know. But at the end of the day, if this is the best fight in the undercard, damn. I mean, you got work to do, man, Oscar. I'm just keeping it real. Then you got Charles Conwell. He's making his Golden Boy debut, and he's a good, really good young fighter. He's 26 years old, 18-0, 13 knockouts. He's making his, again, you know, 154-pound. But they put him against a 35-year-old guy, Nathaniel Gallimore, you know, 22-7, 1 draw, 17 knockouts. Come on, man. You couldn't do better than that. Like, where you found these dudes? Like, yeah, you can't expect a fight to do over $1 million and a half pay-per-view buys when you got this type of undercard with a bunch of guys that nobody knows. You know, number 3 on my list of why I think this fight is going to flop is, I'm not going to lie, I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be competitive at all. I don't. I mean, I like Ryan Garcia. I think he's a good fighter. And I think he has, you know, he's obviously has some speed. He has some power. He has a vicious left hook, which is his money punch. But the problem is everybody knows that's his money punch, including his opponent, who's very familiar with him. And his opponent, Devin Haney, is the type of fighter that will take away, you know, his opponent's, you know, best attribute, their strongest attribute. So I don't see how Ryan Garcia will land that left hook. Now, can he? Sure. I mean, anything can happen in a fight. We all know that. But if you're going to go by skills, Devin Haney is just he's at another level skill-wise. I mean, Haney has been getting better and better. He's a former undisputed champion, you know, at lightweight. He's now the WBC champion. He looks super impressive. against Regis Prograis, breaking him down, and he also shows some power. So it looks like he's starting to fill in. His power is starting to fill in at that weight, which doesn't mean well for Ryan Garcia, because again, if Ryan Garcia is going to go in there and get, and try to hurt Devin Haney early and get reckless like he did against Tank, he's probably going to run into something, because Devin Haney can box. He's a smart boxer and he's a good counterpuncher. He does everything right, And my thing is, if Ryan Garcia tries to go in there and box Devin Haney, then that's going to be a snooze fest. Devin Haney will win that probably 12 rounds to 9. I'd be very surprised. I'd be the first one here to say, wow, I was wrong that Ryan Garcia outboxed Devin Haney, but I don't see that happening at all, in this fight. So I just don't think it's going to be competitive because of the skill, and, Devin Haney said it himself. Ryan Garcia realistically hasn't really changed much since the amateur days, and Devin Haney would know that more than anything else. Again, they have that familiarity. They fought 6 times in the amateurs. If he says that, I would believe him. I also think that Ryan Garcia is he's not in a good mental state to fight this fight. I said this weeks ago. In fact, I'm shocked that this fight is still going on. I thought by now it would have been canceled. I was wrong. Now, can it get canceled in the next 2 weeks? Sure. But probably not likely, because there's a lot of money guaranteed, and they're probably looking at, we're going to make a lot of money, at the gate and on pay-per-view. So we got to keep this show rolling. But realistically, I don't think Ryan Garcia is mentally, stable enough to be able to handle this type of an opponent. And fighters will tell you, you could be physically fit, in shape, in great shape, but if you're not there mentally, more than likely you're not going to be successful. And when you go into this type of fight, not only, in your in a bad mental state, not only are you running the risk of getting, embarrassed, losing, potentially getting stopped, you run the risk of getting hurt. Like, you don't play boxing, man. You can't play those games when you have mental issues. Ryan Garcia has had mental issues in the past, and the stuff that he's been tweeting, and we saw him at the press conferences, drunk or high, admitting that he drinks and smokes, and all these cryptic messages, and on Twitter. It's just one thing after another that leads me to believe something's not right with this guy. And I thought personally he should have pulled out weeks ago, get himself right, and maybe look at this fight potentially down the road. But it's going to go on. So the fifth and final reason why I think that this fight will flop, and trust me when I tell you it hurts me to say this, is because of the venue. I just don't think this fighting it in Brooklyn, was the best choice, and I'll tell you why. But first and foremost, I love me some Brooklyn. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. In fact, shout out to all my peoples in Bushwick. You know how we do. Much love here from the hangout spot. And I love Barclays. I've been to Barclays Center for a lot of fights, many fights. I've sat in VIP. I've met fighters. I've hung out in the 40-40 club prior to fights. Always a fantastic time, great atmosphere. So I'm not crapping on the venue per se. I'm crapping on the fact that these fighters probably would have been better off fighting out west or in Vegas. So unfortunately, I have to agree with Ryan Garcia, because in the beginning of this whole thing, he said, he didn't want to fight in Brooklyn. He wanted to fight in Vegas. And I think he's right. And I think Golden Boy, after this whole thing, are probably going to regret putting this at Brooklyn. Put it this way. As much as I love Brooklyn, again, it's in my blood. Even I question, really, this fight in Brooklyn? I thought this fight would definitely be in Vegas. Trust me when I tell you, there's some nice big fights you can make in Brooklyn, based on, guys that are from the East Coast, Puerto Rican guys that are from New York, but this just wasn't that type of fight that I would have thought would be in Barclays in Brooklyn. Vegas, it would have been popping. You know how Vegas gets for fight weekends. These guys are from the West Coast. If they would have put this in Vegas, I think it would have been sold out within a couple of days. Now, like I said earlier, you still got tickets available. That's going to go down to the wire, because you know how New Yorkers do. It'll probably sell out by fight time, but you have New Yorkers that are buying that the night before, maybe the morning of, because they're trying to get the same ticket that you paid $400 for. They're trying to get it for $250. That's how it rolls. So at the end of the day, Vegas to me would have been a better choice for this as far as selling it. I think California would have been a great choice. You're talking about two guys from the West Coast. Ryan Garcia is from California. Devin Haney was born in Oakland. Their following are already there. The Mexican following are right there. You know what I mean? So I think that California would have been a good choice for this. Vegas, of course, and maybe even Dallas Cowboy Stadium. It sits like 50,000 people. You would have probably been able to overprice, charge even more in California based on obviously the expense factor and the cost of living there. So I don't know. I think at the end of the day, venue is probably going to hurt, the income, and the bottom line of this fight as well. But either way, I hope I'm wrong, because at the end of the day, I want to see great fights. I hope these guys, these no-name guys that I just talked about, will come out and shock us and give us some really good fights. But on paper, if you want to compare to what Top Rank has done, especially this past weekend, if you want to compare to what PBC did on Amazon Prime this past weekend as far as their card, wow. I mean, these were great cards. This is like kindergarten, man, if you ask me. Oscar, Golden Boy, y'all got to do better. Hopefully for Canelo Munguia, man, y'all don't make the same mistake, man. You learn from this and you make that card better. Way better than this one was. But anyhow, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know. I mean, do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean, do you think it's going to make a lot of money regardless? Or do you think it's going to flop? I'd be really interested to hear your comments below. And at the end of the day, you already know how we do. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to watching my videos. Lots of cool stuff coming in the next coming weeks, so make sure you're along for the ride. And as always, appreciate the love and support. This is your boy Johnny signing out from the Hangout Spot, and I'll talk to everybody soon.